What's happening, everybody? Matt here, but you can call me Matub, and today we are doing the coin toss. And with me, I have Back to the Future's resident film expert and horror movie guru, Dusty. Why don't you go ahead and say a little something to the people?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm excited to be here. This is my first video. I'm hyped and terrified.
So, for anyone who watches my show and doesn't read the website, which I think that's a Venn diagram of zero, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing, I came over with Back to the Future from Titletown. I've been doing, I call it film study. It's really I just watch plays on, on the All 22 film or whatever, and been writing about it. I've been doing that for like 4 years or something now. So, by no means an expert. Thank you very much, Matt. I learn a little more every week, so I've been doing that. Yeah, probably about 4 or 5 years now.
Nice.
Got a couple articles I do every week on that. One that I've been doing is just kind of one big play, and the rest is say usually anywhere between 6 to 12 plays I found interesting from the previous week. So it's cool. It's fun. It's time consuming, but it's kind of awesome.
So, do you follow Ben Fennell on Twitter?
I do. It's great.
Great quote from Ben he was on the Acme Packing Company podcast several weeks back now, and he said that people call him film god or whatever. He's like, just watch film. He's like, just watch a bunch of film and you pick stuff up. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's legit how I got started. It was coach's film for the longest time was like the holy grail, right? I've been watching football for as long as I can remember, but it was always kind of this announcer speak, right? It's they went to prevent, that's how they came back, or the safety should have rotated over or something. And I never really knew if that was true because you can't really see the whole field.
mm-hmm.
And so once coach's film was available, I just kind of started watching. I'd watch every game and just kind of I usually would watch every play like 3 times or something, and just kind of watch the pieces. I started watching safeties, watching linebackers, and I kind of started jotting notes, and I was like, if I'm kind of interested in this, probably other people would as well. And so I just kind of started writing about it. But yeah, I mean, I've started reading a handful of like football strategy books, and then like I don't finish them because
they're
just
boring.
Terrible at those things. There are interesting pieces of them, and I've gotten through some of them. But that's really what it was for me as well. I just kind of started watching film. I make what I do now is I make GIFs of them, and then like every play that I think is interesting, I take notes during the game, and I watch every play like roughly 24 times before I write about it. You just watch it on the loop, and every time you notice something else. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's not hard. It's just watching it and seeing what you can see. So I mean, that's one of those things. If you're interested in football, man, I encourage anyone to do that because you really do learn just a ton from doing that.
And at the end of that, the only theory book that I've ever been able to finish is called "Take Your Eye Off the Ball."
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
that one and a couple Smart Football by Chris Brown wrote for Grantland. He's got his own site. It's basically 2 books compiled of some of his best articles. But he's dynamite. I've learned a lot from reading him as well.
Mm-hmm. So, establishing your dominance in the film game, we are now going to take you away from it completely, and I'm
here for it, man.
We are going to discuss #Fire McCarthy, and I'm going to do the addendum here. Both of us agreed that it's insanity to fire your perennial playoff coach midseason.
Yes,
and no one would argue for that. I mean, if you're arguing for that, you're probably a JS Online commenter. Like, so
not only is it ridiculous to ask for that, but given the history of this franchise and the history of Thompson, there's no way it would happen anyway. So
absolutely. So we are arguing, should he be replaced beginning of or end of this season, beginning of next season, obviously. So Dusty, I'm going to call it for you. Heads, #McMoron. Tails, #McCarthy. All right? So heads, he's fired. Right, tails, he stays. So the people at home, it is on heads. And
all right.
It's heads. So I already forgot what I said. I said McMoron.
Heads, he should be fired.
Heads, he's fired. Yeah. So you have to say, we're going to replace McCarthy in the offseason.
All right.
hang on. We gotta remember. We gotta start the. We're all official. You guys are all.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go like 5 minutes on this. Yeah.
I know all the regular podcasters are like, let's get going and discuss. And I'm gonna start a timer. And you said you wanted to start a timer at home.
Yeah, man. I gotta force myself to keep in check, man. Or I'll just keep rolling.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna start it in 3, 2, 1, go.
I like McCarthy. Obviously, he's done a lot for the Packers. You mentioned the Super Bowl, their perennial playoff team. I think it's hard to say exactly, but it seems like the message has maybe gotten lost a little bit. There's very few coaches that have been with their team for 10 plus years that have done well. I mean, as of right now, the only coaches that are longer tenured than him are Belichick and Marvin Lewis, and one of them is one of the best coaches in history, and the other is like just Marvin Lewis, man. So, I mean, offense has kind of grown a little stagnant. He has been trying some different stuff this year, but there still just seems. Rodgers said it this past week. There doesn't seem to be a passion there, and I think that has to come back to the head coach. Some of the strategies changed up. Some of the passion's not there. I think it comes down to. I think the message just got lost. I think you need another voice in there. And you just need to goose these guys a little. They have the talent, just something there is missing.
That was good. That was pretty much the exact argument that I would make. Okay, so now, see, this is why I don't like doing the coin toss, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. So
and I don't agree with most things I said. So
okay,
so I'm
it's funny that you bring up Marvin Lewis, who Bengals fans have been calling for his head for years. But okay, so I'm gonna start mine in 3, 2, 1, go. So the only reason that we should really be talking about firing McCarthy is because his created Hall of Fame quarterback is not performing up to his amazing super MVP Hall of Fame standards. Now, some would argue that is Mike McCarthy calling the plays. Others would argue that the Packers don't have a single wide receiver who can beat man coverage. And Mike McCarthy is not a wide receivers coach. Mike McCarthy is not the offensive coordinator. He just calls the plays. Maybe if the offense were to move in a direction that used more combo routes instead of ISO routes, the wide receivers would get open. Aaron Rodgers would be making a lot more plays. Especially as of right now, Rodgers is on pace for, it's like 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and like 4,200 yards or something like that. Those volume stats are insane. Granted, he's doing that without a true running back. He's doing it without a seam-busting tight end. A lot of the tools that you need. So maybe it's not necessarily McCarthy's fault. Maybe it's the team that is failing around him, and we should really just let it. We should let it play out. I don't believe a single word I just said.
Well, I mean, I actually agree with a handful of that stuff. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's not. So I believe, I mean, honestly, and this doesn't make for a very good coin toss, but it's somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah. I mean, the injuries have killed him this year. It's not all on McCarthy, and it's also not McCarthy. But man, listen, we gotta first take it, right? So
right. First take. Hashtag McMoron. Hashtag Mayor McCheese.
That's pretty good, man. You got that down. That's pretty good.
McMoron is probably the most common JS Online insult. But a buddy of mine on Twitter, at Oz the Cheesehead, calls him Mayor McCheese constantly. But how much would you love Mayor McCheese on the sideline, like with the Big Mac head?
I'd be a big fan of it, man. You put Hamburglar in as OC, and I'm all in, brother.
I think the Grimace would be a really good defensive coordinator.
Bring back out friggin' Mac tonight, right? What's that dude doing these days?
Yeah, buddy. Oh man. Oh, and
you mentioned Rodgers' volume stats. There's one stat I'm not sure if this has gotten enough press. Did you know Rodgers is responsible for every single one of the Packers' offensive touchdowns?
Yes, he has the only rushing touchdowns, and two rushing touchdowns?
Two rushing touchdowns, yeah. It's bonkers. I mean, they haven't had a running back for like 6 weeks or whatever, but that's still just like people accidentally fall into the end zone sometimes. Like that's insane to me.
To me, it's still not as insane as the was it the Chiefs who went an entire year without a wide receiver touchdown?
Yeah, yeah, and then I killed him because then they signed Jeremy Maclin, and then Maclin was, great for them. I was like, he's gonna go 5 years without a touchdown catch there. But I'm not funny or intelligent, so it
Well, to be fair,
that blew up right in my face.
to be fair, the Chiefs had an amazing running back and really good tight end and captain check down. So tight end and running back are going to be probably two of his favorite targets.
That's true.
It's funny. Packers are supposed to be West Coast offense. Air quotes. Supposed to be. And what's the moniker of it's touchdown, first down, check down, right? That's the West Coast offense. We're just seeing a whole lot of okay, the touchdown pass isn't there. I'm going to run around for 10 minutes and extend the play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, some of that's the offense, and some of that's on Rodgers. I mean, we've seen him miss open guys, but sometimes he's had times, so you can't blame it on the offensive line. But there are times that the offensive line gets beat. But I have seen, as the season's gone on, I've seen more bunch routes. I've seen the Packers use more motion than I've ever seen them use. So I mean, they are trying different things. And we saw in the Falcons game where Rodgers, man, just hit that back foot and just throw it. I mean, that's what he should be doing. But then what you said, I mean, a lot of times it seems like they just stop at the first one. They think touchdown, and they just look for that shot. And then if you watch it, it's like 4 ISO routes downfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have nothing else. And so a lot of times the guy's not open, and it's just, well, he has to run around. And sometimes he does that because he has to, and sometimes he does it because I don't know why.
I think your point about the loss of a voice, I think, is exactly what the issue is. Someone needs to shake Rodgers and tell him, hey, man, you're not God. Someone needs to shake McCarthy and say Rodgers isn't going to fix all the offensive problems. And I think a head coach is a good way to shake it all up.
What's one of the things I'd heard that I'd not put much thought into was with the draft and develop, you also have a whole lot of young guys in that team. I mean, even with say Rodgers and Peppers and Nelson, the Packers have had one of the youngest teams in the league for years now because they just keep rotating new young guys in, and a lot of times you lose leaders that way.
Right.
And I mean, Daniels obviously seems fired up on the defensive side. I think that could be a guy, but if it's not Rodgers on the offensive side, they don't really have any of their vets there. Like Jordy's a quiet dude, Randall Cobb's a quiet dude. I think getting young as they've stayed, there's no one there to kind of shake the head coach and the quarterback out of that funk if they get caught in it. I don't know if that's one of the problems, but it definitely could contribute to it. I don't think it's just one factor, but that could be one of them.
Right. And I mean, also, you're going to look at a locker room full of young guys that did not grow up as Packer fans or have not been Packer fans for the last 5 or 6 years. They're going to know and worship Aaron Rodgers as the football god that he is and not give a flying fornication who Mike McCarthy is. So
yeah.
There's no one there that's going to check Aaron. So Packer fans hate talking about Greg Jennings because he's always talking shit about Aaron Rodgers. But he recently said that this is the first time that the criticism has ever truly fallen on Aaron. And I think there's some validity to that. This is the first time where Aaron has had to internalize the issues with okay, well, maybe I am screwing up a bit.
Yeah, it could be, and I don't know if some of it kind of goes back. I mean, you can attribute somewhat to this year as well, but with Nelson out last year, the offensive was really slow. I mean, you could even say they didn't even try to adapt last year.
Right.
And Cobb was kind of bad. Cobb got injured, I think, in the first game with that shoulder injury, and he wasn't 100%. And Montgomery was good, and Montgomery went down, and they were still running these plays that worked when Nelson was there, and then Nelson was out, and they just never recovered. I think that's one of the things I kind of find exciting about this year is that Nelson's still not clearly 100%. His catch rate is the lowest of his career. He's catching 52% of the balls. He's got touchdowns, but he's being targeted more than anyone else in the red zone. Cobb has, got that hamstring injury, and Montgomery's been out. He's been good when he's been in, but he's missed some time. They're relying on Janis, and they've got some Trevor Davis in there. And I'm a huge Trevor Davis fan, but you can't really base your offense around that. And so you have seen them, like I mentioned, you've got some bunch routes, you got some motion. They are trying to help the offense this year, and that's something I didn't see last year. So that's promising, if nothing else. That's something that they try to do. They didn't try to do last year. They are at least attempting to do
Right.
something with this year.
But the question is that McCarthy? Is that Bennett? Is that Clements?
Yeah,
Who knows? But that is
I'm gonna say not. I will say not Clements, but that's
Not
that's just me.
so, but that is for the audience to decide. Guys, that was the coin toss. We went off on a bit of a tangent there, but we're both we're both tangent-y bearded men. That's just how it's gonna go with us. Well, guys, Dusty, what is your Twitter?
I am at Dusty Evely.
All right, so go ahead and give Dusty a follow if you're not following him already, and then hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Call Me Matub, and as always, guys, my name is Matt, but you can call me Matub, and you have a great day. Bye.